Greetings and welcome to Let's Talk About Books, baby, where we talk with your favorite LGBTQ plus authors. I'm Anita Kelly, and my guest today is Melissa Marr. Hi, Melissa.
Hey,
How are you?
I am well. It dropped under 100 here, so I'm pretty excited.
Whoa, that's insane. Um, I'm on the East Coast and we are experiencing fall right now, like fall-like weather. It's just been unbelievable. And I cannot complain.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, this is our fall. It's going to be in the 90s this week, so I'm pretty excited.
oh, that's cool. Yeah, I had relatives who lived in Arizona in the past, and I remember going out there and it was like 120 degrees, and you couldn't even go in the pool. It was just too
Yes.
hot. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right. Well, Melissa, I would like to hear all about your latest release. It is called Toni and Addie Go Viral. So tell us, who are Toni and Addie and how do they go viral?
Yeah, so Toni and Addie is a contemporary book. Toni is a young woman who just got her first professorial tenure track position, and she's kind of in financial straits. She writes a book, a Hail Mary kind of attempt that explodes. And along the way, she has become pen friends with the girl, the young woman she hooks up with the night before all this happens. And so they both kind of just keep secrets from each other and are trying to figure out their lives and everything else. And along the way, turns out that Addie gets cast in the TV adaptation of Tony's book, and there's a fake wedding, and pictures go out on social, and so it looks like they're dating, but that adds just layers of complication. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So, by going viral, um, Toni, her book goes viral and
No, the pictures of them as a couple do. So Tony's
uh
book, yeah, I mean the premise is that like honestly, and this is drawn from my real life, she sells a book, it explodes, she's utterly unprepared. And that was what happened to me with my first book. And like you just make a lot of mistakes because
mhm,
a lot of people are paying attention to you. And her mistake is these pictures of the woman she's sleeping with. People think that there was nepotism and just, social media doing its thing.
mhm.
And people want to go viral, but it's actually really stressful if it happens.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So, yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. Um, so how is this book? This book, it came out like in August, right? So how is it being received? Are you getting any feedback from readers?
It's been kind of interesting because there is a segment of readers who are, I think, of the mindset that Tony being a person with baggage should not be having a happily ever after, which I found kind of
Ooh,
fascinating. Like there's some pushback to her as a person that she's mean. I mean, her mean thing is that she doesn't want a relationship, which, lots of people do that.
sure.
And it's been fascinating because I've written characters just like her in heterosexual romances and fantasy
Mhm.
books, and readers were totally fine with it. But I think there's a weird kind of internalized misogyny happening to some degree, and a sense that as women, they should both be softer, gentler, etc. So there is some of
Wow.
that pushback that's been kind of fascinating to read. Um,
Yeah,
but
that is
there's
amazing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's kind of neat. I think I I didn't write it obviously for readers that are looking for perfectly together people.
Hmm.
Um, I wrote a book about characters, and my next one also is about characters who have some baggage, like a lot of us
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
And there are readers that are loving it. Those readers are absolutely there. But there's also this sort of contingent that's having issues with the fact that Toni is so mean that she she's so awful. And her big awfulness is that she has boundaries and she doesn't want to have a relationship. Um,
There's
and
nothing wrong with that.
I mean, I didn't think so, but
No. No.
it's been fascinating to me as a person who dabbles in studying humans. Um, I just think it's neat to see that in some ways we've made such p progress, but there's still this kind of internalized misogyny to what women should be. And it's really come out in some of the comments.
That I guess I shouldn't be surprised by that. Just based on um, what has happened in the world politically and how people aligned just because someone was a
Mhm.
woman and someone was a man,
Yep.
had nothing to do with what their policies were about. Um, yeah, so I really shouldn't be surprised. It does occur. Probably we encounter that on a daily basis, you know. Um, I think people encountered it in the workplace and, even in families, there's
Oh,
still that.
certainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and it's just it's interesting to me to see that this is a constant when I write books with lesbians, or honestly, when I write strong, independent women.
Mhm.
There's a segment of readership. Like I have a series I indie pubbed back during the pandemic, and for reasons of I don't want to pass on this health condition I have.
Mhm.
She doesn't want to have children. That's it.
Mhm.
Which I don't think is unusual. I mean, I adopt. I think adoption is great.
Mhm.
Outsource the stretch marks, you know. Um, and and so there were so many readers that were hateful. What kind of woman doesn't want to get married? What kind of woman doesn't want
Yeah.
children? So it's a lot of that again, you know.
Well, well, were these lesbians or
I mean, readers
LGBT?
sadly, I don't
Folks?
know, readers sadly don't identify themselves
Okay.
in
All
their
right.
reviews. It's just people
Yeah.
are weird, man.
Yeah, I guess that's difficult for me to digest that someone from the LGBTQ plus community would, have that view about women, but I suppose it could happen. Um yeah. So, wow, that's interesting. But I'm glad a lot of folks are loving it and reading it. And yeah, and so I have to ask you, will we see more of Tony and Addie?
They are side characters who show up in Greta Gets the Girl, which comes out in January.
Ah.
January 13th, I think. That just went into production, I think, 2 weeks ago. So they're in there because Greta in that book is Tony's editor, and Kaylee is Tony's graduate assistant. So they continue to be in the book. So we get to see how they're doing next year.
Cool. That's awesome. I love that. I love when there's a follow-up like that, when they're, the main characters in maybe the initial book are side
Yep.
characters in the next. That's great. I love it. And I know a lot of readers do too. Um, so is this your first foray into the LGBTQ fiction world or no?
No, no.
Okay. Okay.
No, so my very first book back when I sold it in 2006 has a fairy couple, Ariel and Neil, who had had a bad breakup a couple hundred years ago, and they become the primary characters in book two. So that book, the second book, is a woman who's ending up dating both two men who have a history together. And they show up throughout the history of the series over the next like 5 years after that book. Um, and then, just throughout the like my first middle grade has dads in the background. My picture book that came out last year, the year before, um, is about a little chicken with two mamas. My fantasy series that came out last year is about a lesbian couple. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is my first contemporary romance novel about women, but I've been writing characters that are part of our community since the first book.
Okay. All right. That's great. That's really great. And um I want to step back a minute because you said your middle grade book series. Is that the young adult series? The like Wicked
No,
Lovely?
no,
Okay.
no, that's what. So middle grade is 8 to 12.
Ah, okay.
I have a series that came out around 2012 called The Blackwell Pages. I co-authored with my friend Kelly Armstrong. And, because it's about kids, you just see parents. So we made sure there were like parents who were together, who were heterosexual, parents who were together, who were LGBTQ plus. And then I think one of the kids has divorced parents. So we wanted to make sure to have like inclusivity there. And
Yeah.
then my middle grade series that came out like 2022, The Hidden Knife and Hidden Dragon. The Hidden Dragon's about a little girl who lives on a ship with her two dads, um, in a sea full of dragons. So, I don't, again, most of my books have been fantasy. They're not about romance. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was just more a case of populating the worlds I write in a way that we're represented. So my own
I love that.
kids see families like ours when they
Mm-hmm.
read because that was something my kids really pointed out, like there aren't families like ours in these books.
Yeah.
And so I wrote them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great. And I love that, you are depicting real life because that is real life, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
It's
it's so bizarre to me that anyone thinks that anyone thinks that that's like pushing an agenda because, my kids are getting the agenda of why are all these families like one man, one woman? Like, what about families like ours and our friends' families? And like, where are
yeah.
they? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's also an agenda choosing to eliminate us from fiction. So,
Yep.
that's kind of been my thing for the last 20 years is
Yeah.
not not necessarily writing books where the protagonist, because like when you're writing kids' books, that just wasn't my gig. But you don't write romance for 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
But making
If you do,
sure,
you won't be writing very long, right?
right? Just making sure the world looks like a little bit more real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love that you're doing that. It's really awesome. Um, and as I mentioned, you have this young adult series, and I'm not sure if I have the correct name. Is it Wicked
Wicked Lovely.
Lovely? Okay,
Yep.
is that the name of the series, or is that a name of one of the
Yeah.
books?
That's what the New York Times claimed my series name was.
Oh,
So therefore that's my series name. It was a weird thing. Like you mentioned, connected characters in the same world. Like background characters in book one become the primary characters in book two, different characters, the primary characters in book four. And but the New York Times decided it's a series because it's all in the same world. So they called it the Wicked Lovely series, and publisher just went with that. So yeah, that's what we call it.
okay. And obviously that's been well received. You got rave reviews from the New York Times. And you've written how many books in that series?
So there were originally five, and then I did a manga series that I novelized in like, I don't know, a decade or decade and a half ago. And then during the pandemic, I wrote a prequel. There's a bunch of short stories. So I guess technically there's 6 or 7 novels.
Okay.
Um, Illumicrate just did an edition and they did 6 novels. So apparently that's the official count. Um, but yeah, no, did that. That was my first book back when areas were on the show other than like, Holly Black or Charles DeLint, Emma Bull. There just weren't people writing them. So that came
Yeah.
out 2007 and they just
Oh,
reissued it a couple months ago with new covers. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
it's
And, you know, our listeners are also parents, LGBTQ plus parents. And so this is good for them to, know that there are other books out there who represent their
yeah.
families. Yeah, that's fantastic. So,
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was gonna say it's just been such a weird series. Like, I never know what to say about it because, like, I wrote it, and that's where Tony's experience in Toni and Addie comes from. Is like, I was a school teacher, minding my business, teaching literature at community colleges, and suddenly I'm like, I sell this book and it's like it's in 28 languages and it's in bestsellers in all these countries I'd never been to. And man, I gotta tell you, I was overwhelmed. And it made decisions for me. Like I was suddenly a YA writer, not because that was the plan, but because this first book just sort of blew up. And it blew up, and there were like the first deal was a 500,000, and the one after that was 1 million, and the one after that was like 1.5. And so suddenly, like, this is who I am. This is what I do. And it kind of like, on one hand, like I took care of my family, I took care of extended family, and I'm proud of the series. On the other hand, like when you blow up like that, it
Yeah,
changes everything. And so, I had to fight to do anything different. And it's taken some time to get
yeah.
to a place where, like, I say I want to write contemporary, or like I wrote a picture book. I did a Harley Quinn Poison Ivy graphic novel for DC Comics.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, no, super fun. But like it took a good 15 years to get to the place where I wasn't just the YA author of Wicked Lovely.
Yeah.
And I finally feel like I'm there. And then, they reissued it this year. So,
Oh boy. Well, I'm glad that it's doing well, and I'm glad, I mean, it's doing so well that they reissued it. So
mm,
that's great. I mean, that's kudos for you. And if uh you know takes a little while to break through those other genres, you
yeah,
know.
it's just a funny reality. Like I'm super
Yeah.
grateful for it, but also like I haven't had a YA novel out since 2016. I did an event this weekend and I'm being introduced as a YA fantasy author, and I'm like, y'all, seriously. Um, like I do other stuff now. So,
So I want to ask you about that because, I know a lot of uh, authors will write in different genres, right? They, like, and they'll use different pen names for different genres,
mm,
but but you're using the same pen name, right?
yeah.
And
Well,
and
it's not a pen name. It's my
that's
actual.
your okay,
That's
that's your
that's
actual,
me.
that's
Yeah,
you. All
that's
right.
me.
So, well, first of all, what made you decide to go with your actual name and not a pen name? And what made you decide to use your same name in like across different genres?
I thought about other names, and I did an indie project with a bunch of friends. At one point, and we all picked pseudonyms, and I used my middle name and one of my family tree maiden names. And it just felt weird. I mean, this is me. Like, this is the name I got my degrees under. This is the name on my wedding license. This is the name on my kids' birth certificates. When I became guardian or adopted them or whatever, like this is who I am. I
Hmm.
am Melissa. Um, and man, I came from barefoot, rural, backwoods, poor, Trump red Appalachia.
Really?
And look at me now.
Wow.
And I want to own that, you
Yeah.
know? Like
So you,
voices matter.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
this is,
you're
yeah,
very proud of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
damn Skippy.
Yeah.
This is I did that. I put myself through college, and I
Yeah.
put and some of that is, you know what? This is the name I carried when I was doing some terrible jobs.
Yeah.
I ran a biker bar. I worked at a strip club briefly. Like I did this on my own since I was 18, and I
Yeah.
did it as Melissa fucking Marr, and
Yeah.
I'm still gonna wear that name. So if I'm writing, that's me.
Mm, okay. Does your middle name begin with an F? So that's cool. That's very cool, and I imagine, I know like for some authors it's kind of weird, like people call them by their nom de plume, and and then when you get to know them, like it's like this whole different person under this whole different
Yeah.
name. Yeah. Yeah. So that is odd. Yeah. And I do know folks who use their birth name,
Mhm.
and have never changed it.
I mean,
So
it's totally cool if people do. Like,
yeah.
you've got to think about the big picture. Like
Hmm.
when Wicked Lovely blew up, I had people show up at my house.
Are you
I had
serious?
yes, I had people show up at my house. I had my house put on like celebrityhomes.com or whatever it was, and like there it is, photos of my house, photos of my, my phone number. And like there were times it was super icky.
Yeah, I bet.
But then, there are other times, like the end of the day, my kids, and they're like, yeah, that's my mom. And
Yeah.
that's it,
Yep. Yep.
That's
That's
it.
cool.
That's all
Yep.
there is.
That's cool. So, Melissa, I see you have the Toni and Addie book on the bookshelf behind you. And I got to ask you, I love the cover. Who did it?
That is Lenny Kaufman.
Okay.
I had bought so many novels because of the cover, and I looked and I was like, dear Lord, these are all by the same artist. So when I sold the
Seriously.
book to Monique, Monique Patterson at Bramble, I said, I got one request. I want Lenny to do my cover. And she contacted her. She's like, it's not possible. She's so booked up. I said, okay, I'll wait. We will wait because I don't want anyone but her.
Yeah.
And so when they told her that, I don't know what magic she did with time space, but like she did it. She did the cover of Greta. She's phenomenal. She's just so
Yeah.
phenomenal. I could not recommend her more highly.
Yeah, I love the cover. It is great. And I think,
Yes.
a cover does so. To sell your book.
Hmm.
I know that like when I go through a bookstore, sometimes it's the cover that draws me in.
Hmm.
I'm like, this looks interesting. So yeah, I'm not really familiar with Lenny Kaufman, but you can be sure I'm going to look her up. Uh,
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah,
she's great.
that's wonderful. So, after writing like the young adult series and I think you did like um a children's book and
Hmm.
your you know middle grade books. What was it more difficult to get like an LGBTQ plus book published as compared to the other works? And did you encounter like reluctance from publishers? Were they more scrutinizing about the content? How did that process go for you?
So, well, for one, I didn't mean to publish it. Like, I wrote it to self-publish it. Like, I didn't write it intending to sell it. So I just kind of wrote, which is sort of my approach to everything. Like, I don't mean to write like a picture book and then an adult fantasy. Like, I just sort of write.
You're
I am
killing me. You're killing me.
I'm killing me because let me tell you, you do not build a reader base when your readers are like, what in the world is this woman doing now? Because like they can't expect me. Like I did Graveminder, which was a horror novel, and then I did The Arrivals, which was Weird West. So at this point, my agent is always just like, Melissa, what seriously? Um, so there's a little of that going on.
Yeah.
But so Monique at Bramble had, before she launched her imprint, she had purchased the rights to my Remedial Witch and Remedial Magic and Reluctant Witch, which is a sapphic fantasy novel about a Victorian lesbian and a contemporary lesbian who's a librarian, and time travel and magic and all that fun shit.
Oh,
Um,
I
I
think our
loved it.
listeners will like that.
Oh, I loved that, right? I loved writing that book because basically I created a queer normative magic college because I was so, honestly, I was just so fed up with all the JKR turfy nonsense. So I wrote a queer normative magic college because I wanted a place that I'd be welcome.
So
Um,
cool.
so
And
I wrote
and what are those
those.
books called? So I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second.
That's cool. Remedial Magic and
Okay.
Reluctant Witch. Remedial came out last year. Reluctant Witch came out earlier this year.
Okay. Thank you for
Um,
repeating that.
I don't know where my covers went. But so I told her, hey, I'm doing this contemporary romance. I was gonna probably just self-publish it, but because I don't want to be an asshole, I thought I should tell you. And she said, well, could I read it? I said, well, sure. So I had my agent send it to her and she bought it and that was that. Like,
Wow.
so I don't know if it would have been different if I had shopped it because like in the past I had a book that was originally about a lesbian. It was like Black Bluebeard's wife thriller in contemporary New Orleans. She was a lesbian who had
Okay.
escaped the killer and had a wife. And no one touched it. Like no one would buy it. I
Hmm.
rewrote it with a heterosexual love interest and it sold.
Huh.
Um, yeah. And there were a couple other things that, you know, got edited for streamlining in my books early on that afterwards I looked back and went, wow, they edited the gay right out of that.
Hmm.
So
Wow.
I am not saying that all of publishing has like caught a clue.
Yeah.
I'm saying that in this case, I sent it to one editor who already had a relationship with me and she bought it. Um, and like there's been no pushback on anything, actually.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
and again, because I wrote it intending to indie pub, there is so much sex. There's so much sex. And I submitted it to her thinking, like she's gonna come back and say, this here's a little bit on the fringe, gotta go.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of kinky stuff in book two, and I thought, okay, she's really gonna be like, no, pushback. And she was like, yeah, bring it. So yeah, no, it's been totally cool.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm really happy to hear that. Yeah. I don't hear that from everybody, so that's good. Good good to hear. Um and I am assuming here, Melissa, that writing is your full-time gig.
Yep.
Writing and working with your family. Like,
I mean, yes, it's what pays the bills. Periodically, so I was a teacher. I taught lit at university before I sold books, and that was my plan, was to do that forever. So periodically, I get a bug, and I teach. So lately, I've been teaching a few classes for an MFA program, um, and for a couple years, I taught historical longsword, for free. So it was like women um women from the age of like 15 up and it was free longsword class. So I taught people to like, you know, do historical sword fighting. So I do stuff like that, but that's more like because I need to than it is
hmm.
for a job.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yep, more like a hobby.
Yeah, it's a hobby
A,
that occasionally you make a couple bucks off of.
yeah, a vocation.
Yes. Yes.
So were there like authors or works that inspired you like as you grew up that you decided, hey, this is for me?
I mean, yes. I I sound like such a nerd. I was re I was reading like Paradise Lost and Dante and Christina Rossetti in elementary school. Like I was a big old freak. Um, I I lost myself in worlds that were other time periods, other worlds, other places. Um, Thomas Hardy, William Faulkner, like I
Whoa.
just knew that I wanted to, yeah, no, I was a nerd. I mean, I'm still a nerd, but Yeah. So I just wanted to write a book that could take someone else who felt like I just didn't fit in. Like
Hmm. Yeah.
I I am a loud-mouthed, uh, conflict-ready lesbian from Appalachia. Weirdly, I didn't get along with a lot of people. So books, all the books, like if I ran out of reading cereal boxes. So I can't say there was like a author. I think if
Hmm.
there was one, it's probably people like Kate Chopin, who wrote a book that was so sexually scandalous that it couldn't be published till after she died.
Wow.
Christina Rossetti, who worked at the Highgate House for fallen women, like her besties were what they called fallen women, which was sex workers. Um, I'm sorry, Elizabeth Browning, who would have been poet laureate if not for being a woman. Like, just there were these bold women in history, and they used their voices, and that's what I wanted. So,
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you connected with them. Otherwise, we wouldn't have your books today, probably. So that's wonderful. And I do believe, Melissa, you talked about or briefly mentioned that you have a work in progress right now.
I do. Well, Greta is done. That's my January book. And
Okay.
then that one's in production. That's Tony's editor. And I just yesterday submitted my revision for a book called A Treason of Magic, which
Treason of Magic?
treason, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And that one's I sold to one of Amazon's publishing imprints. That is a female duke. And basically like Buffy meets Bridgerton, except instead of hunting vampires, she's hunting fairies. And, you know,
Wow.
yeah.
You have a wild imagination, huh?
I mean, I guess. It's all right.
That's all right. That's great. That's
Yeah.
what artists need. So that's so cool. Um, so I just want to reiterate this for our listeners that your most recent release was Toni and Addie Go Viral.
hmm
And where is that available? Anywhere people buy their books?
Um, yes, I think Barnes and Noble's carrying it. If you're a paperback person, a lot of the indie bookstores, like depending on where you are, like your local independent bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
Amazon bought the audio rights, so if you do audio, that's through them.
Okay.
And for reasons that only Amazon knows, they put it in Kindle Unlimited. So,
Okay.
like, if you're a subscriber, right now you can get it in KU. And they're
Mm-hmm.
doing the same thing for Greta Gets the Girl, which is in January. So,
Okay.
yeah, kind of everywhere.
Yeah, that's awesome. All
Yeah.
right. And then in January, Greta Gets the Girl is being published. That
Yep.
comes out on the 13th. And then at some point soon, Treason of Magic will
Yep.
be
That
on the
one,
market.
that's June 23rd, 2026.
All
That's up
right.
for pre-order too. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
that is about all the time we have for today. So, Melissa, I'm wondering if you have any parting words for our listeners.
I mean, on the reader front, you know, there's so many options out there. I hope you find what you're looking for. Um, and on the writer front, like just remember it's a business. I switch what I'm doing. I'm a terrible business mom. Don't follow me. But remember that it's a business. There were years that I didn't necessarily follow my heart. I followed what could support the family because this is a business that you can support your family doing. But at the same time, remember to do the heart projects because they keep the business part from feeling like it's killing you.
That is great advice, really great advice. And I know a lot of our listeners are writers themselves, so that's wonderful. Great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Melissa Marr, thank you so much for being with us today. Um, that is all the time we have. And I'm Anita Kelly, and thanks for joining Let's Talk About Books, baby. So, until next time, may your journey be lighthearted, peace be plenty, and be safe out there, folks. All right.